la régie Véronique ici présente. Oui.
With a passion for music and a determination to change the regressive norms for a better one, Alpha Blondy rose to fame for his version of a theme that brought him troubles, yet his determination to use his talent as a medium for change prevailed. This is a story of a legend and the woman who became his partner and support. How does this man live in 2025, his net worth, house tour, and car collection? Let's find out. Net worth. Alpha is reported to own several luxurious cars, from supercars to Land Rovers, but due to his discreet lifestyle, the actual models are not known to the public. For years, he took the #1 position on People with Money's top 10 highest paid singers for 2025. He earns an estimated $75 million. In 2022, his popularity seemed to have reduced, but he suddenly went back to the top. At first, he made a few $1,000s from his music. However, with his popularity and celebrated legacy, he now earns $75 million, bringing his net worth to $215 million from his previous net worth, which was about $2 million. His music career isn't the only thing he ventured into. He has stock investments, property holdings, and lucrative endorsement deals with CoverGirl Cosmetics. Among his properties are restaurants like the Fat Blondie burger chain in Abidjan. He also owns a football team called Dimbokro Angels and a vodka brand called Pure Wonder Blondie. Regardless of his wealth, he has helped his community in various ways. Known as a peace builder, coupled with his numerous endeavors toward peace building, he was named United Nations Ambassador of Peace for Côte d'Ivoire in 2005. He has made great efforts to bring about a peaceful solution to his country's political and physical division, which resulted from an attempted coup in 2001. These endeavors earned him more prestige and popularity, showing that aside from music, there are several ways to advocate for peace, change society, and actively help those in need as much as he can. In March 2007, a peace agreement was signed and implemented due to the hard work of many people, including Alpha Blondy. Alpha now reaches out further with the newly created not-for-profit, non-governmental, non-political charitable foundation called Alpha Blondy Jah Glory Foundation, which works toward ending social injustice and generational poverty by giving people the tools they need to help themselves. He strongly believes in helping the poor and needy and emphasizes that children should not be hurt. The foundation strives to create and implement grassroots programs at the rural level, such as the Women's Self-Sufficiency Microloan Program, which teaches women who are caring for multiple orphans how to start and manage their businesses to better provide for their families. It supports other sustainable projects, such as the Tafari Genesis Retreat Camp for children in Ivory Coast and Burkina Faso. This retreat camp especially hopes to bring joy and hope to children who have been affected by civil wars, former child soldiers, and those who suffer from chronic life-threatening illnesses, such as sickle cell anemia, malaria, asthma, and others. To date, he continues to fight for peace and unity around the world through his music. In 2014, he sang on N'Oublie Pas with some artists, including Jocelyn Berard, Harry Roselmack, and Admiral T. The song was a tribute to the 152 victims from Martinique of the crash on the 16th of August in 2005. He aimed to always remember that event and help the victims of that disaster to raise funds. Alpha's approach and aim to touch every issue and love all beings were influenced by his grandmother. His father was a Muslim and his mother was a Christian. However, he has bridged between different religions and advocated for peace regardless of tribe and religion, as it's the way forward and less violent. His influence has inspired many who followed in his footsteps and tried to advocate for peace through their music. Wife. Alyssa Blondy Daragi is known mainly as the wife of the internationally acclaimed Ivorian reggae legend Alpha Blondy. Their marriage was formalized in a religious ceremony back in February 2020 at the Grand Mosque of Riviera II in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, bringing together a prominent reggae star in the music world and a woman who has also carved her path regardless. Although she is popularly known as the wife of Alpha, due to his popularity, Alyssa Daragi is not solely defined by her marriage or husband. She is a Tunisian national and excels in the media industry. She is specifically a host on Alpha Blondy FM, the Reggae Stars radio station. She ventured into media and hosting before her marriage to Alpha, so hosting Alpha Blondy FM was a walk in the park. Her professional background and involvement in the media industry align with her husband's career trajectory, which makes their relationship and marriage more compatible as they both understand the ups and downs of the business. This understanding helps the couple maintain better public and personal lives while doing what they love. Their wedding ceremony was the talk of the town, which was a no-brainer given the popularity Alpha and his music career already accrued. News outlets reported the ceremony, which noted the presence and attendance of various celebrities, legends, and friends of the couple. The popularity and attention their wedding accrued marked the beginning of their life together and exposed Alyssa to a wider audience and fan base. There were reports that the couple had traditionally been married a year before their official wedding, adding that Alyssa was reportedly expecting a child then. Their relationship ran deeper than the public knew, suggesting that the couple may have been in a relationship for a long time. However, due to Alpha's music career and popularity, they had to keep a low profile until Alyssa became pregnant. So there was no way to keep a low profile, hence their lavish wedding in 2020. After their hidden traditional wedding, the civil ceremony took place on the 22nd of February, 2020, at the Sofitel Hotel Ivoire in Cocody, Abidjan. There is no remarriage without a few dramas and disagreements. The period around their marriage saw some disagreements between families, especially Alpha's daughter, Sukaina Kone. However, she was against the marriage union because of the complexities that such marriages bring, seeing that Alyssa, who may not have been as popular as Alpha, was also well-known and high-profile. Regardless, the couple knew what they could be up against and were ready to do all it would take to be together. The public was involved in some talks because Alyssa was way younger. Situations like this caused some subtle disapproval from the public, with several views and opinions, trying to shed light on why such couples are together. Regardless, if love can come in different shades, then age is but a number. Alpha and Alyssa showed no hesitation, and despite all talks and views, they tied the knot. As popular and high-profile as she is, Alyssa keeps a low profile, keeping her private life extremely discreet and away from the public eye and scrutiny. Although she is married to a high-profile artist like Alpha and became the host of his radio station, there is no detailed personal information about her except for her nationality and her profession as a radio host. Nonetheless, glimpses of her personality, demeanor, and views can be interpreted. For instance, on International Women's Day in 2023, she emphasized women's values and strengths, encouraging them to recognize their worth and support each other. This public message showed a clear insight into her perspectives and values, regardless of her husband's wealth. Furthermore, she is recognized for producing the music video for Alpha's song Cold Fire featuring Capleton, which was released earlier this year. She was part of the African team in the script. Her involvement in her husband's music projects shows her extension of connection into his professional life, contributing her media skills in ways she can, which is beyond their personal lives. A reggae star, Seydou Kone was born in 1953. He is an Ivorian reggae artist under the stage name Alpha Blondy. Growing up without parents initially wasn't easy for him, but his grandmother did her best to raise him. Unlike other children, his environment was described as among elders, which later impacted his career. When he was about to enroll in high school, his parents took him back. So he joined his father in Odiena, enrolling in St. Elizabeth High School. Seydou has always been outspoken and wanted to change norms, so he joined the Ivory Coast students' movement then. With a passion for music, he later formed a band in high school. He concentrated so much on his music band, prioritizing their performances, that it affected his studies, so he was eventually expelled. He was sent to study English in Monrovia. Spending a year there, he moved to the United States to improve his English. He was accepted into Hunter College, where he majored in English. He then decided to pursue teaching as a career, but when he attended a concert in New York, he was introduced to Rastafari, an Abrahamic religion that developed in Jamaica. He began attending concerts by Jamaican artists.
My first time to see a big reggae live was in Central Park.
He then tried to make music using Rastafari, but because he wasn't Jamaican, he experienced several altercations. So he returned to Ivory Coast, where he gave it another try, but like in the US, the troubles didn't end. After meeting up with a childhood friend of his, Fulgence Cassie, who was a notable television producer, it became better, and his music career began. Then he adopted the name Alpha Blondy as his stage name. He joined Cassie in making TV shows, and after various TV shows for Cassie, Blondy recorded his first solo album in 1982, titled Jah Glory. This album was an enormous success and later became a symbol of resistance because of the song Brigadier Sabari, which documents his experience of being arrested in Abidjan in the 80s and his subsequent mistreatment by the police. Alpha Blondy became a big star in Abidjan with his African twist on reggae music, becoming, in the eyes of his fans, the Bob Marley of Africa. He is spiritual, political, and positive, just like Marley himself. He recorded a cover of Bob Marley's song War. To reach more people with his message, he chose to sing in many languages: English, French, Baoul, and his native language, Dioula. Later, he brought new instrumentation to his brand of reggae, such as the violin and cello. In no time, his fame spread to Europe. Following the success of an extended play titled Rasta Poué, he traveled to Paris in 1984 to make his second album, Cocody Rock, with the label Pat Marconi. After Paris, he traveled to the island of Jamaica and recorded the title track of this album with Marley's backing group, The Wailers.
We tour most of the time in Europe, Brazil.
He then traveled back to Ivory Coast 1 year later to record a studio track, Apartheid is Nazism. This was his way of calling an end to apartheid. In 1986, he recorded Jerusalem at Tough Gong Studios in Jamaica with the Wailers featuring Aston Barrett, popularly known as Family Man. Alpha uses his songs as a medium to promote unity between the religions of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. These three religions have been at odds for as long as possible. However, Alpha has drawn his inspiration for unity between these religions through his knowledge of the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah, which are the holy books of each religion. Alpha began touring, singing to different religions, tribes, and countries in different languages. From 1987 to 1989, he spent his days giving concerts and recording some tracks in Abidjan. He did this because he wanted to distance himself from Pat Marconi. 2 years later, he returned to Europe for a concert tour and to record his album Masada with the help of some musical legends he respected, such as Bokana Maiga and UK reggae producer Dennis Bovell. After Masada was released, it became a massive success with its hit track Rendezvous. That year, he was awarded his first gold disc in Paris. He pushed himself touring and making music, which deteriorated his health greatly. In 1993, he was already worn out from constant tours, so he became depressed and was taken to the hospital for some psychiatric help. When he was recovering, he recorded the album Dieu, where he spoke about his illness and recovery, using a more spiritual and religious tone. During that time, there was an increase in inequality. Alpha has always used his music as a medium to discuss inequality and world peace, so every moment counted. He did not rest. He was always up and about, touring, performing, and sharing his music with many to make changes and inspire as many as he could. 1 year later, he was fully recovered and back to his music making. Later, he returned to Europe at a La Zenith Paris concert. He went back to his studio, creating and making music. He released some hit compilations and his album Grand Bassam Zion, where he sang in 6 different languages: Marine, Arabic, French, English, Ashanti, and Wolof. He became fed up with international promotions, so he returned to his homeland in 1998 to release a new album, The Prophet. He decided to create his album because his other album was too focused on the international market, neglecting the African market that should have taken precedence. He continued making music, releasing tracks and albums, talking about issues of the world and topics that plagued societies. There is no doubt that Alpha drew his inspiration from Bob Marley, and in a way, helped in making Bob Marley's prophecy of making reggae big and well-known in Africa.
I think that African reggae is a prophecy of Bob Marley.
He knew that to make changes, starting from the grassroots would go a long way, as opposed to trying to make changes in a new environment and country. So returning to his hometown was his way of impacting his grassroots and advocating for peace. He believes all beings are the same and should be loved equally, regardless of religion.
So am I.
Right.
So we have to deal with each other, accept each other.
In 2002, he celebrated 20 years as a recording artist by releasing a CD, Merci, which featured Ophelia Winter and Cyan Super Crew. This track earned him his first Grammy Award nomination for Best Reggae Album. He has since released dozens of tracks and albums and has influenced other African reggae artists. In 2023, he performed in front of a huge crowd at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in Abidjan for the closing ceremony of the 2023 African Cup of Nations. Already married with a family and still popular, where is Alpha today? Don't go anywhere. A legend at 72.
Les gars, c'est Alpha Blondy dans Basic.
Alpha resides in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. After his return from abroad in 1998, he has since lived in Abidjan. Many have described his house as his temple, which was designed according to his version of the Rastafari faith. It was also described as one of the city's strangest and most distinctive landmarks. This description gives an insight into the reggae artist's unique and personalized architectural style. With a theme like Rastafari, the house is probably incorporated with Rastafarian symbols and the colors red, gold, or green with several images. A source reports that these symbols are combined Jewish, Christian, and Islamic symbols, which isn't surprising. However, there is no definite truth about these details because Alpha is a very private person. His house features are not publicized, hence, there is no concrete proof of these features. An article from 2015 mentioned a part of his house in Abidjan being demolished as part of a government campaign. The campaign specifically targeted an annexed studio built on public property. Therefore, it indicates that Alpha had a recording studio as part of his residential house then. At 72, life is taking a new turn for him. He is still recording and making music. He is currently in Clichy, France, promoting his new album, Rise. Known for his political views and insights on religion, he has influenced many rising reggae artists and listeners. Today, he is celebrated for changing the views of many by incorporating his vast knowledge of religions and Rastafari beliefs in his music. In a way, he introduced his version of Rastafari to multitudes, and today, his version of Rastafari is used by many, even Jamaicans. His legacy remains a peace builder and a bridge between cultures and religions. His music, enriched with reggae, served as a tool for social change and an inspiration to many, which has not changed to date. Making waves in the music industry, he accumulated various amounts of popularity. What does he own today, and what is his net worth? Let us find out. Alpha's hit tracks. Over his music career, he has produced numerous hit albums and tracks. Each album or track carries an important message or meaning that impacts society in numerous ways. Some of these tracks have a story behind them, and in a way, people were inspired by the message passed across. Brigadier Sabari, also known as Jah Glory, was released in 1982. This song was among others in his debut album and was a huge success. The song talks about police brutality and harassment in Abidjan. Alpha criticized the authorities in this track, recalling how he was targeted unfairly and his experience of being mistreated and harassed by the police. In the track, he explained that this unfair treatment by the police toward the citizens instills fear, making them live in anxiety. Brigadier Sabari was a song of revolution in West Africa because it fit the time when a renowned artist fearlessly criticized the police authorities publicly. This song broke social norms, yet it resonated with many, especially citizens of Abidjan, who could relate to the experiences that Alpha narrated. Whenever they experienced this injustice, many were too afraid to voice out their grievances. Along the way, they all lost their voices in fear of losing their lives. However, Alpha's track inspired them, and people began actively voicing their experiences in no time. Brigadier Sabari became an anthem for the oppressed and a symbol of resistance against authoritarianism and police brutality. It was used in several activist movements and protests. It also forced a public discussion about the misconduct of the police force and increased the awareness of human rights issues in Abidjan. It also became the song that helped to cement Alpha's image as a socially conscious artist, unafraid to speak truth to power and injustice. Another hit song was Kokoti Rock, released 2 years after Brigadier Sabari. This track was lightheaded and had a catchy tune. It was all about reggae parties in Kokoti, a neighborhood in Abidjan. The song symbolized the spread of reggae music and its appeal universally. Reggae originated from Jamaica, so Alpha was introduced to it and made it his theme, but with slight changes to make it his version of reggae. This track celebrated the power of unity that music possesses. Reggae has the ability to bring people together regardless of race, religion, and culture, despite societal norms. Kokoti Rock was one of Alpha's first tracks to become a hit globally. He introduced a distinctive blend of African rhythms, tunes, and reggae to a wider international audience, showcasing the contagious energy of African reggae. This track also helped to popularize the genre globally even more than Jamaica did. The song's upbeat vibe and simple message of unity made it a favorite in dance halls and parties. It demonstrated how music could transcend serious social commentary and become a source of shared joy, togetherness, and cultural exchange. Alpha also recorded the track with Bob Marley's backing band, The Wailers. This move increased the impact of reggae internationally. 3 years later, Alpha released Apartheid is Nazism, a powerful song that condemns the apartheid regime in South Africa. It compared apartheid and Nazism, explaining that both are the same as encourage racial segregation and oppression. He denounces their beliefs and actions and calls for the liberation of Black South Africans under the rule and mercy of the apartheid system. This song was released at the peak of the anti-apartheid movement. It became a powerful international anthem against racial discrimination and oppression. His strong stance and straight denouncement of this policy through his message resonated well with activists and other people around the world who were also fighting against these unfair treatments. The song increased the global call for sanctions against South Africa and its apartheid system, which also contributed to the increasing international pressure that eventually led to the dismantling of the apartheid regime and the release of Nelson Mandela. Apartheid is Nazism helped to solidify Alpha's reputation as a politically engaged artist who used his music as a weapon against injustice. Jerusalem, which was released in 1986, was iconic as well. The song was a heartfelt plea for religious tolerance, especially among Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Alpha sang this song in English, Hebrew, and Arabic as a way for each tribe to understand the same message in their different languages. He also emphasized that regardless of the religion, people should unite as one and not let religious beliefs and practices serve as a medium to divide. He explains that each religious practice should be respected and understood the same way one would respect and understand one's own. Jerusalem eventually became an anthem used for peace and religious harmony, but this time on a global scale. It was a memorable song to many because of its use of multiple languages in its lyrics, and the message of unity that inspired several people in a world often plagued by religious conflict and misunderstanding. Alpha's use of different languages was to show that regardless of the language and culture, it also results in one interpretation and understanding. The song became popular and went beyond cultural and religious boundaries, promoting dialogue and understanding between different faiths and religions. It became one of Alpha's most impactful works, which promoted a message of tolerance, harmony, and togetherness that remains relevant today. A song titled Sweet Fanta Diallo and released in 1987 was also known as Revolution. In this song, Alpha talks about forced marriages and the lack of attention given to women. It narrates the pain and suffering women go through, which is caused by arranged marriages. He believes that men are allowed to marry whoever they love, and women should have that right too, rather than trading a woman's future marriage for personal interests. Alpha used this song to advocate for women's rights to choose a life partner and shape their destiny. Sweet Fanta Diallo revealed the sensitive issue of arranged marriages in public discussions in many African communities. The song told a personal story, revealing the consequences of arranged marriages and their effects on a woman for life. This improved the predicament of young women and challenged patriarchal traditions that denied them their fundamental rights to choose a life partner by themselves. The song empowered women to speak out against injustice and contributed to a growing movement for gender equality and the protection of girls' rights. Yitzhak Rabin, released in 1998, also spoke of an issue. The song was an emotional one and served as a tribute to a respected official, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, who was assassinated. He was a key figure in the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. In the song, Alpha mourned Rabin's demise, emphasized the urgent need for peace and reconciliation in the Middle East, and called for dialogue, understanding, truce, and an end to the violence that has troubled the Middle East for years. The track demonstrated Alpha's commitment to global peace and unity and willingness to engage with complex yet delicate political issues beyond the African continent without fear. It served as a powerful reminder of the human cost of conflict that could have been avoided if peace reigned, and the importance of courageous leadership in pursuing peace. Like the others, the song resonated with peace activists and individuals who longed for a resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which highlighted Alpha's role as a global ambassador for peace and understanding. Another revolutionary track was the 1999 hit Journaliste en Danger, also known as Elohim. This song discusses the critical issue of press freedom and the dangers faced by journalists around the world who risk their lives to report the truth. The media is known as a neutral industry regardless of passing regimes and leadership. In the song, Alpha condemned the violence and intimidation directed at journalists in an attempt to hide truths that should be revealed. Alpha also emphasized the important role of the press, which is free from political intimidation in a democratic society. He used this song as a call for the protection of journalists and the defense of freedom of expression and speech by journalists. The song, in turn, raised awareness about this threat globally, relating well with several media organizations and human rights activists who appreciated the effort. He also emphasized that freedom of the press is important in every democratic society, so journalists should not be shunned. Rather, they should be protected from all intimidation meted out by those in power, for they are informing the public. Alpha has promoted Pan-Africanism, unity, social justice, equality, spiritual awareness, peace, nonviolence, and tolerance using his songs as a medium. His willingness and capability to address delicate political and social issues that have afflicted several societies, and his charismatic stage presence and infectious reggae rhythms have made him a powerful voice for the voiceless. It has also compelled many and has been an inspiration to millions around the world. He has shown how music can be a potent tool for social change, its capability of raising awareness, challenging injustice, and promoting hope for a better future and a unified society. With Alpha's continuous music career at 72, do you think his recent albums will be successful like his previous albums today? Please leave your opinions in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.